Hello, this is Pedz, and this is the second GRcade Twitchcast Mini episode. And we are talking today about the 3DS, which was actually suggested by the person who's with me, which is the Doom Spoon.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing, Pedz?
I am doing well. I am all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not too bad. Not too bad.
That's good. Better than bad, you know? Not as good
Yes.
as I'm good, better than I'm bad. So
Yeah, that's a good assumption.
yeah, pretty much. Right. So the reason why you brought up the 3DS when we were suggesting little like topics to talk about for the mini, which is usually one subject for an hour, it was, I believe, that 3DS is now shooting up in price. Is that correct? Was that it? I forget. It's a minute yet.
Yeah,
Because of the second-hand buying market.
Yeah, so it seems that obviously once the console comes to the end of its life, it usually goes through a bit of a lull where you have a few years period where everything's really cheap for the console, as in the consoles, the games, the accessories, everything, because the console's only just kind of come to us the end of its life. Everyone's got loads of stuff. There's no rush to kind of collect for it, you know. And then it's usually, I don't know, 10, 15 years, maybe even up to 20 years later, all of a sudden it becomes the in thing to
collect, yeah.
To collect for. But for some reason, the 3DS has bucked the trend a bit. So bearing in mind the 3DS officially come to the end of its life at the end of last year. Production stopped, I think.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's like they'd stopped production in pretty much like every country, and then the end of last year I think they stopped production of this console in Japan, and basically it was a simple case of whatever stock is left is to be sold off, and that is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe it's literally just the end of last year this happened. So considering that's only 6 months ago, and all of a sudden games are becoming certain games are becoming very desirable, and the consoles themselves seem to be hanging on to their value. And in fact, some of the older consoles, the original 3DSs, seem to be going up in value slowly, which is strange, just from that perspective, that normally this doesn't happen for a good 10, 15, 20 years, as I said. I don't think anyone's really sure why. It doesn't seem to be. There's a lot of guesses as to why, and I think the best guess seems to be so far is that with Nintendo releasing games such as Metroid Dread, Monster Hunter Story 2, and games of that kind of capacity, there's a lot of people who didn't play, for instance, the Metroid remake. What was it called? Return of Samus.
Yeah, it's either Return of Samus or Samus Returns.
Yeah, Samus Returns, I think it was. So there's, it didn't sell very well originally, that game. And there's a lot of people that didn't play it, and all of a sudden, with Metroid Dread coming out, I think people have seen the style, the graphical style this game has, and I think people have realized, there's a game already out that's similar to that in the Metroid 2 remake, Samus Returns. So all of a sudden, that game has shot up in value. A month or two ago, you could pick that game up from Argos for £5.
Wow, that is fucking crazy. I got the special edition, I have. It's like a big box and stuff, so that's safely tucked away. I haven't even opened it yet because I haven't played it myself.
No. So that's shot up now, and now it, I think it's kind of the general pricing seems to be, £20 plus to buy that game. So that's kind of shot up. Monster Hunter Stories, the first one, obviously that came out on the 3DS. That's always held its value. It's a game that I wanted to play when I first heard about it, when it was first released, a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But nowhere stocked it. Like, game were stocking absolute bare bones of 3DS stuff, and like it was sold out on like Amazon all the time. It was never like in stock on Amazon, and this was before I knew about like places like Shop2. But even then, at the time, like, and maybe not at the time, but even then, when I did find out about them, they still didn't have copies. And then copies were obviously becoming available on CEX, and the prices on CEX, bearing in mind that was second hand, and this was about a year or two ago, the prices for that game was still in the £45 to £50 range.
Wow.
That's second hand. That's from CEX. Now I believe it's going up. I want to say copies are kind of, it's not unheard of to hear of copies going for more like the 60 range, because it just seemed to be produced in very little numbers, or at least it was sold in little numbers over here, probably expected not to do a great. And there's suddenly a demand for it, and all of a sudden this game's going up, and obviously there's more interest in this game now because Monster Hunter Stories 2 is about to come out.
Yeah.
So again, there's people kind of going, I want to play the first one. Demand is high, and what happens when demand is high and stock is low? Prices go up.
Yep. Bastards.
So that's two examples. And problem is, there's then people who don't have 3DSs who now want 3DSs to play these games. So the demand for 3DS consoles have gone up. So the prices
people
go up.
without 3DSs, I don't believe
I know.
I don't believe you. I think you're lying.
I genuinely think there are more people on Earth who have access to a 3DS easier than they do water sometimes. Like they're everywhere. But yeah. So especially the older consoles, the original 3DS models are becoming pretty desirable now. And again, say a year ago, I'm always looking for things that I can add to my collections, and I've got a little 3DS collection building. And yeah, there was loads of original 3DSs, the ones with like the translucent colors and that. There's loads of them, and people couldn't get rid of them. They were being sold for like a tenner with the charger. I think I saw one for £15 boxed with everything included. People couldn't get rid of them, and all of a sudden, they've like leapt in value. Now it's kind of £50 plus again for these old consoles. And as you can imagine, if you have an Ambassador console, which is the one that has the a selection of GBA games, they're the 3DSs that anybody who bought one when they were at full price, which was, what was the full price originally? £250, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I didn't get it.
Obviously,
no.
No,
like
most
a day
people
or two
didn't.
after they reduced in price, and I didn't get the Ambassador games, and I was gutted. Specifically when I'm
it's funny you
trying
say
to get
that.
one for the Ambassador games.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's funny you say that, because I want to say I was talking to Jara about this on your Discord chat, and he picked up a 3DS literally the day after the price dropped, and he was still able to get the Ambassador program on his. So he's actually got an Ambassador 3DS, and he didn't have to pay full price either. So
Jammy bastard.
I
knew there was something I didn't like about that Java.
They're just, again, it's kind of almost the Switch effect is kind of causing this kind of upsurge of interest in the 3DS all of a sudden. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, what do you think about these things? Are you particularly big into collecting for any particular consoles, or?
Honestly, no. It's not because I don't want to. It's because basically I know how much it's going to cost. So I just don't see the point, because I'll want to start collecting, and then it'll get to the point where I need these expensive games to complete a collection, and some of them go for fucking ridiculous amounts of money, and it's just like it's just not happening. So I just don't want to bother starting. No. If I know I'm never gonna finish it, like, because it'll just always feel incomplete to me. Like, I don't think there's a single console where, like, I think whatever console you look at, there will be expensive games. It tends to be shit games that are rare as well, and that's the problem. If it was like a fucking 10 out of 10 balls to wall amazing fucking game that made me orgasm every time I switched it on, then I wouldn't mind paying that extra bit of cash. But when it comes in the post and you stick it in and then you want to shoot someone because you're so fucking bored and it's so bad and janky and crap, and you've spent like 500 quid on it, then it's just like, nah.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
You're buying it as an investment. Yeah, you're literally buying it as an investment rather than anything to enjoy. And, you know, like all the games I buy,
I wouldn't want to sell them. I was going to say I wouldn't want to sell them anyway. So I'm buying them just to keep them, like, and not sell them on.
No, like for me, every game I buy, I want to play, and I do play. So, you know, if it doesn't matter how much I spend on a game, if I buy it, it's because I want to play it. And generally, I only buy the games for a console. So I'll like collect things for a certain console. I mean, obviously, most people know. Anybody who's spoken to me for more than 5 minutes realised that I've got a thing for the GameCube.
You haven't got a single GameCube.
Never mind the fact that I think I've almost got enough to build a house out of them now.
You're still missing the coup.
Yeah, don't rub that one in. But yeah, you know, I've got games like I'm trying to think what I've got in my collection now. Obviously, I've got, like, here's a good one, like Skies of Arcadia. When I bought it, I bought the US version because I've got an action replay, so I can so it can, like, it region unlocks the cubes for me anyway, so it's fine. But I think I paid, and bear in mind this obviously the reason why I bought the US version is because it's cheaper over here because most people can't play the game. Because most people would have obviously a PAL version. So I think I paid $55 for that, and that was the US version, and this was like 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. No, definitely 3, because it was before it moved here. So so yeah, there's that. And then the insane thing is, I'm in a retro collectors group that, like, specifically for CEX. So it's like you share if there's anything interesting in your local CEX, you post just in case anyone else wants it. And yeah, it's just basically you just help each other buy stuff from CEX and make sure it's decent before you buy it, type thing. And somebody recently posted a picture of a PAL version of Skies of Arcadia in a CEX, complete in box with the manuals and everything, and it was £185.
I'm looking on you. There's a PAL one going for £68 where you bid. There's a best offer or buy now of the PAL one for 160 quid. Complete copy for 200. Another one for 249.
Yeah.
Damn. I wonder how much the Dreamcast version goes for then.
Should I tell you what's interesting? Like, the reason why I bought, obviously, as I said, the reason why I bought the US version, and I bought that 3 years ago, is because I didn't want to spend the £75, which is what the PAL version was going for 3 years ago. I didn't want to spend that money. I was like, no, that's like 50 usually for me is tops. Yeah. Like, we talked about games that are like 20 years old now. Like, I'm not paying more than £50 for a 20-year-old game.
I don't really like paying 50 quid for a new game, let alone an old one.
No. Yeah, and like, unless it's a game that's very, very special to my heart, and it's like
Pokemon.
I've got, like, if I ever had the opportunity to buy like a complete in-box mint condition version of Pokemon Blue, I would probably spend the money on it, and it would be big, you know. I'd probably have to spend like £150-200 on that, but that's okay, because that's very, very close to my heart. It's a sentimental thing. It's something that, you know, that is, you know, the reason why I'm buying it. But when I'm just buying games to add to my collection, admittedly, there's still games that I want to play. I'm not spending that kind of money on it. That's a very rare case. Like for me, £50 is absolute tops for a game that's 20 years old, in my opinion. But yeah, I didn't want to spend the 75, which is what they were going for at the time. And now, like you said, you were finding ones that were like £200 plus. So yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah,
But,
to be honest, I'm surprised that like the cost of things just fucking are flying up as they are, because it seems to be across the board, really.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you'd think by now they'd start dipping the like Nintendo stuff and all that, but nope.
we seem to be right in the middle of because they come in waves, don't they? So a few, like say 3 or 4 years ago, it was the N64. It was like the end of the SNES collector's era, and it was kind of getting into the N64 era. I'll say about 5 years ago, something like that. And now we're kind of maybe up until about last year, we kind of come into the end of the N64 collector's era, and the GameCube era started picking up about a year ago. And now, like I said, these prices are insane now. But that's what seems to be making the 3DS an exception to the rule. Is the console has retired only 6 months ago, and there's already a mad dash to start collecting for it.
I wonder if it's because the last big game that was released for the platform was 3-4 years ago, something like that. It was Ultra Sun and Moon, so there's been like a decent gap then. 4 years ago, November 2017. So there has been like a decent gap, even though it hasn't been as large as previous. But then again, like you said, it's usually after the console is discontinued that like a while after that it starts, not within 6 or so months. So it's pretty big turnaround there, a bit of the norm.
I mean, do you have much of the 3DS collection? Do you have many 3DS consoles?
I think I've got a 3DS, 3DS Lite. One of my kids have got a 3DS, another one have got a 2DS, and a few games. I can't remember exactly what games we've got. Like some of them are digital, some of them are not.
Yeah.
Like I think my Pokemon Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun, Pokemon. Which one did I get? Was it Ruby or Sapphire? One of them two. They were digital as well. So like quite a few of my games are digital on the 3DS, which is unusual for me because I tend to just buy physical because I prefer it. But the way things are going nowadays, it's like I kind of get digital more, but with Nintendo stuff, I still tend to go for physical over digital. I don't know why. It's a habit, I think. So it's not like I'm planning on selling my Nintendo stuff. It's just habit of buying them, I guess.
For me, for me, it was always I just had a thing about, I say buying discs. Like I say, I do buy plenty of GameCube discs, but that's because there's no other way to buy games for the console. But when it comes to modern day, there's just something not very. There's a disc is just a disc, There's kind of no experience to it, if that makes any sense. Where the cartridge, remember the back in the day, my first console was a Mega Drive, and you get the cases were really chunky because they had to be, because you had these fat, the fat things in them, and then it was the fact that you had to unclip it out the box. You'd always blow in it, because even though everyone told you not to, it worked. I don't care what anyone says. Blowing in them worked.
Yep.
So you blew in there was a whole experience. There was that tactile click when you push them into the console. Like it's a very nostalgic memory that a lot of people have, and I think with Nintendo still kind of hanging on to cartridges, it kind of invokes those kind of nostalgic memories, I think, and I think that's why there's still that. Like when you load a Switch cartridge in, it's you flick the flap up, you hear the click as you push it in. Like it's a very tactile experience.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I think for me the biggest issue with discs nowadays is they work as a key. Like you stick the game in, and then it installs the game, and or downloads the game. There's constant updates, there's day one updates. There's some games where, like, I know I've mentioned this before, but like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 or something, it was like the tutorial level on it or something, and everything else downloaded after you put the disc in. So
which there's the big argument for, you know, when people like, for instance, I've got obviously I bought a Series S recently, and you know, a few people have said to me, but you know, and the obvious argument obviously is, well, what if you want to buy, like you've mentioned it, like, what if I want to buy a game that's discontinued off the store or no longer available? Yeah, I get that, but you know, the other kind of things is, oh, well, what if you want to, you know, play on the console, like, after it's discontinued or whatever? The reality is, even if you have the disc, if you play, like, after the consoles have discontinued and the servers are shut off, even if you had the disc version of the game, you'd barely be able to play those games, because you wouldn't be able to download the patches anymore.
It would be unlikely. Some games would be okay, some games wouldn't.
Like the amount of games that
some games would be okay, most games
like,
wouldn't.
Imagine, like, let's just say 20 years time, somebody has a copy of Cyberpunk, like a physical copy of Cyberpunk, and let's just say they didn't have their original Xbox with all the patches on, but they feel like a nostalgic trip, so they sourced an old Xbox. Great, they got an Xbox Series S or X, which would be ancient in 20 years time. Oh, great, I'll put the disc in. They put it in, the servers are shut off. That's the version of the game you play.
They get the original version of the game, like the very broken version. Wow.
Yeah, so the disc ain't saving you from nothing. The disc ain't saving you from nothing. So, do you know what I mean? It's even if you want to buy discs still, and that's absolutely fine, the art of collecting is being killed because of these patches. You know, at least when you and I think, you know, we're going off topic a little bit because we were meant to be talking about the 3DS, but, well, I guess it's still on topic. You know, I know there's always updates for things, isn't it? Like, you know, even the 3DS on the odd occasion, it's like I put updates, like like there's a game that's like, oh, you require an update for this game. Okay, it's fine, but I don't think there's a single game, or, you know, I know there's a lot of games to the console, but I don't think there's a single game that is broken without a patch. A lot of the patches are just small stabilization fixes and things like that, It's just things that kind of crop up, you know, throughout the life of that game, where, like, no, like, I can't remember there's ever been an outcry of a 3DS game being released and everyone's like, it's unplayable, we're gonna have to wait for a patch. Like, there's never that.
No.
So in some way, well, yeah, I was going to say, like, even the Switch isn't immune from it. Like, the amount of times you have to put the cartridge in, and immediately there's some form of patch to download. And again, you know, if you're buying first-party Nintendo games, they're never normally a janky mess, because they've got a certain level of quality as they like to hold to. You know, even if the game's a bit shit, at least it still works. It's not a Cyberpunk situation where it literally will not work.
Well, it works occasionally.
Yeah. It's you know, so in some way, I think, you know, you could even say, this is just me being completely, like, hypothetical about the situation. You could even say that maybe the 3DS is the last console that you could genuinely collect for. As in, you can collect the physical games and play them and not worry about, oh my god, well, I'm never going to be, like, if I play this and I can't get the day one pack anymore, then it's unplay. Like, you don't get that with a 3DS. From that point onwards, from basically any console onwards. I mean, even I'm just trying to think, like, I never owned a Wii U, so I don't know what the situation for those were like. But again, I think you could probably go back and play most of those games, and again, you're not going to have too much problem.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, just trying to think now.
I think so, yeah. Probably could. And the good thing is, if you couldn't, you could homebrew it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's
you collect the games and homebrew it so that you can play the games patched properly.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So it works.
So, yeah, so I kind of feel like the 3DS is potentially the last console that you're gonna be able to genuinely collect for, like without and still play those games, without any consequences of not worrying about the day one patches and stuff. So maybe there's that to think about as well. Maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but surely someone else has thought that kind of process as well.
No, I think you're probably right. Wii U and 3DS probably were, because I think even like like the PS3, the Xbox 360, they had games like I think later in the life. I don't think there was many to start with, and I think that's the problem with like obviously we're going a bit off topic, but I think that's the problem now. It seems like, I'm not saying it definitely is, but it seems like a lot of developers release the games with that we'll fix it later kind of mentality. So long as they get the game out, you know, I don't know if that is. It's
that games as a service thing.
Yeah,
you know, like once the service is switched off, the game's gone. Even if you have the physical disc, the game doesn't exist anymore. You know.
Yeah.
Or exists in its barest form, and most of the case that you can't play it. You know, so
that's the problem with live service games as well. Like if they decide to switch it off, and you've got the bare minimum if you was to like play it again for some reason, and also because it's not online, it might not work properly.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you've even got games like one day World of Warcraft the servers are gonna switch off, and think of all of the tens of thousands of hours some people have already put into that game, and I mean there are some people who have easily done 10,000 hours into that game. One day they will never be able to access. They won't even be able to access their character. It will all be shut off, and that is it. Like all their progress, everything that they've ever worked towards on that game is gone.
10,000 hours and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, like, that's the sad thing, isn't it? You know, and I'm trying to figure out a way of bringing it back around to the 3DS, and that's why I've said, like, you know, I do think the 3DS is definitely one of the last consoles that you could actually have a proper collection for. And in 20 years' time, you can fire up the console and put a cartridge in and still enjoy the game without worrying about, the server's still on, or am I still going to be able to get a patch to fix this game? Because I'd say 99% of the games will probably work straight out the box and be absolutely fine.
In chat, Matt 25091 already feels depressed about WoW. Now they feel worse. Nice one, through.
Yeah, I know. Just dragging the mood down.
Yeah, but to bring it back to the 3DS, because we're talking about it generally speaking and not just about the sales, the secondhand stuff, is I whipped up Wikipedia. I like, hey, want to see my wiki? I whipped it out like I've never called my penis a wiki, so. But I was looking at like the top, I wanted to bring up a list of games in case there's any we wanted to talk about. But looking at the games, I'm actually surprised by the highest selling game on the 3DS because I didn't think it was this.
I don't know what it is, so let me right, let's just break this down. Is it a Pokemon game?
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
The highest Pokemon game on 3DS, right? I'll tell you now, is Pokemon X and Y combined. The second, according to this.
Oh, so something come ahead of that. And it's a game that I assume...
You'll know the game.
Is it a bit of a left field game? I'll know the game. Is it one that you wouldn't expect me to think of? Or
no, I think you'd think of it. It's quite a simple reason why I would expect you to get this. And I'll tell you.
Like I'm going a completely left field, but is it Minecraft by any chance?
It isn't.
Okay, because
he's having fun.
Game just, yeah.
Do you want to know what it is?
Go on, put me out of my misery.
What's the highest selling game that, or at least consistently sells right now on the Switch?
Mario Kart.
Yeah. So what do you think it is on the 3DS?
Mario Kart 7, isn't it?
Yep.
Does it give numbers?
It gives numbers. It does say citations needed, but as of March 31st, 2021, 18.94 million copies of Mario Kart 7 was sold. To be fair, it's over a long time, 2011. Pokemon X and Y, a second with 16.53 million, and that came out in 2013.
Like, that's, serious money's being made. Like, you can see why Nintendo's, like, they always talk about, like, Nintendo's, like, they've got so much
money
cash sitting in the bank. Like, physically sitting in the bank, not assets that they have to worry. Like, they've got so much cash sitting in the bank that they could set to basically, like, I think basically it's something like they can go 20 years and lose money for 20 years straight and still be afloat as a result of it. It's insane. Like, if you think about it, like, how many companies have got cash like that just sitting in the bank, just doing nothing, because that's how much money they've got. Like, there's not many companies. Like, I don't even think, like, even like Sony can't boast that. I know Nintendo only do one thing where Sony invest in all sorts, but still, there's not many companies that can boast that.
No.
But when you've got games that are selling like 18 million, 16 million copies, like, you can see why.
X and Y is second with 16.53 million. Third is Pokemon Sun and Moon with 16.25 million. So it's not far off. God. And that came out 3 years later again. Fourth is 14.39 million, and that is Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So the top, so in the top four, 3 of the games are Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a reason why people like it. It's said that Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the world, and you can clearly see why.
Yeah, it's making fucking bank.
Oh, gee,
the next one then is in the top 10. It's 9th, and it's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and that sold 8.98 million. So it's quite a big drop, but it came out less like 2017. A lot of people, I think, would have been like, well, I don't want Ultra Sun and Moon because I've got Moon and Sun.
Yeah.
And I think that was I think that, I don't know what Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon do differently to Sun and Moon, but I think if it was, I know, Pokemon Jupiter or something, Pokemon Earth, then I think it would have sold a lot better as a third game. Because the third game sold well, but I think they go in the right direction with the Switch though, on doing DLC or opposed to a third game. Personally,
I think I mean, like if we're taking Pokemon for instance, I think the idea of having 2 separate copies and console and copy exclusives to to each one of those, it's a bit old fashioned. But it's the only game that can get away with that. It's a bit old fashioned. And then to then try and sell you a revised copy of that game like a year later, like it just doesn't fly these days. And honestly, I think again, people, I'm in that boat. Like I started on Red and Blue back in the day when they first came out. I bought Yellow. I didn't buy Crystal actually. I never played Crystal.
I loved Crystal. I didn't buy Yellow.
Yeah.
I bought Blue.
No.
Then I had Silver. Then I bought Crystal. And I played as a girl, and I can't remember what I named her. Probably one of my friends.
You was asking, where's Fireman Sam to the rescue on that list?
Well, it's not. This is only the top 100 games, I think, so it's not on the list.
Yeah.
No, it's top. Yeah, it's top 100, but it goes up to 53 because there's like joint 53 million.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
But yeah, so. It's definitely the right way to go with DLC and things like that. I mean, there's no doubt that the 3DS was a massive success. And do you think part of that success was the fact that they, like, what do you think about the fact that they revised the console so many times? So let's just to take stock. There's 3DS. The 3DS XL, the 2DS, the new 3DS, the new 3DS XL, the new 2DS XL. I think that's it. So that's 6 revisions of the same console.
I
Again,
didn't get a
imagine if
new
Microsoft
console.
No, imagine if Microsoft released 6 different versions of the Xbox. People would be kicking off.
They did
But
with the Xbox
then-
360. There's the Xbox
Yeah, well-
360, arcade, pro, premium, other thing. It was loads of elite. The PlayStation
the
3 and the
360
Xbox 360 had more revisions than any other console ever made.
It feels like it.
It does.
But yeah, do you think that was part of the reason why the 3DS was successful? Was because they knew when they needed to revise the console, because like things like let's be fair, the 3D capabilities of those original consoles wasn't great. And the screens are quite small. I always found my hands cramped up a little bit playing it. And they knew that, and they knew that adults were playing this. So then a couple of years later, they released the XL. So bigger screens. Everything's spaced out a bit more. Do you think it's just a case of they knew exactly when to release a revision, knowing that it would maintain their course, their momentum?
1 second. Matt says, I think Nintendo probably sell more revisions to existing owners way more than other companies, and I'd probably agree with that.
Probably,
but
yeah.
you'll have people who collect them too. You'll have people who just generally like to buy revisions because they tend to improve upon the last iteration.
Yeah.
For me, I got the 3DS and the 3DS XL. I got the Fire Emblem edition when Awakening came out.
Oh, lovely!
This lovely blue sexy beast.
I had the I had the original 3DS. I jumped all the way to a new 3DS XL, and then I got a new 2DS XL, which is the Pokeball edition, actually, which is the one I currently use for everything. That's my daily driver. So,
I think
in terms of collecting,
I think the revisions did help, though.
In terms of, I mean, obviously bringing out the special editions helped, because, for instance, there's so many of those special edition consoles that I absolutely want to get at some point. Like, I want the Pikachu edition. I want the Hylian Shield one. Looks stunning. Yeah, that one was I don't know if it's a 3DS or a 2DS XL. I can't remember. But either way, it's absolutely beautiful, and I need it in my life. So yeah,
I'll look on eBay. You might get one for less than 600 quid.
Yeah. They just I just think Nintendo just, I don't know. Maybe it was just accessibility because of the cost. Eventually towards the end, they were literally, so right at the very end, they were selling a new 2DS XL. So yeah, the new 2DS XL with a digital copy of Mario Kart 7 for something like £100.
Yeah, it went real cheap.
And
to be honest,
it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, it was, especially if you didn't care about the 3D, which many people seem not to.
No. It got to the point where games came out that didn't even have 3D capabilities. Yeah,
couldn't handle the 3D as well as the game. Like Pokemon was a bit juddery, weren't it? Like Sun and Moon got rid of it. I think it was X and Y that had it, and it was a bit wonky. But to answer your questions about the why they did so well and it became so popular, it's the thing is, I think 3DS initially was doing pretty bad sales wise, and then I think Nintendo kind of focused everything on it to get it to sell well, and I think the revisions did help, but I think the main thing that attracted people was when it went a bit cheaper, and then the 2DS came out.
Yeah,
I think the 2DS had a massive effect on the sales. Yeah, because word of mouth, and also because I think it seemed more child friendly, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of parents would be like, "Oh, buy that one for 100 quid cheaper. It's 100 quid cheaper. I'll buy that one."
It was borderline disposable. Again, a few years, like a year or two before they ended production of the 3DS, they were bundling an original 2DS, so not the XL, just the slab version of the 2DS, with Mario Kart, or there was another game. It was Mario. Oh, I can't remember what it was. It was a Mario game of some
New
sort.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
80, that's the one. The 80 quid. 80
mad,
quid for a 2DS and a game. Like, they were, at that point, they were disposable. You would buy one, play it, chuck it away, and go again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was insane how cheap they got. And so I think at that point, parents were just buying them for their kids because they were like, yeah, you know.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Oh, it's Christmas time. We'll buy you a 2DS, and you can have a game. Oh, look, there's some cheap games as well. Fireman Sam, Horrid Henry. Here you go, kids.
Thing is, though, and I think they got it down to a price, realistically so cheap that it wasn't even like people had to think about it as a Christmas present. I think, it got to the point where parents were buying it for their kids. Like, let's say they were going on a summer holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
keep them quiet in the car.
The kids entertained for a few hours. Well, let's to spend 80 quid on a 2DS and a game. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
That'll keep
It's literally like
6 hours while we're driving.
We're going to be driving for 5 hours. Is 80 quid worth 5 hours of peace?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
We all know it is. Anyone who's got kids knows.
Anyone who's been in a car with a kid, even if it's not their own, will know. Just give them something to keep entertained in the car. Give them the portable babysitter.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was when, like, that helped big time. But yeah, I mean, how fond were you on the 3DS? Was it something that you like loved, or is it something that kind of you don't mind, or?
No, I really enjoyed my 3DS. There were some games on it that I really liked, and the good thing is I could play some of the DS games that I missed on it. Honestly,
the backwards compatibility of the 3DS, I maintain to this day, whenever anyone says to me, what's the best handheld of all time, it is the 3DS, because it can play all the 3DS games, and it can play all the DS games, and we know how good the DS library was on top of the 3DS library. We know how good it was. The fact that you've got a console, and that's another thing to consider, 80 quid, and it comes with a game, and you can play all your DS games and all the 3DS games. Like, the sheer value, it was insane.
Yeah, can't really disagree with you. Like, and there were some fucking good games. Like, trying to think off the top of my head. Well, I'll actually just look at this. For me, Fire Emblem Awakening, I loved it. Animal Crossing New Leaf, awesome. Mario Kart 7, I had lots of fun with. I think it was that one that we did stuff on GRcade for a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I played through the Pokemon games on there, except for Sun and Moon. I end up stopping playing through Moon because I'm a tit, and I need to get back to it.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3D Land was good. I much prefer 3D World, but 3D Land was fucking ace.
Yeah. 3D Land was really good.
One of the best games
Luigi's
on there for
Mansion
me.
2.
I wasn't a massive fan of Luigi Mansion 2. I preferred Luigi's Mansion on GameCube.
Yeah.
I need to play 3.
They did a remake of Luigi's Mansion for the 3DS as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did actually, thinking about it. Another cracking game. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
And Ocarina of Time, I forgot they remade.
And Majora's Mask were on there as well. Yeah, A Link Between Worlds.
Christ.
Link Between Worlds. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
I haven't played it. I need to pick it up. Is it? It's good, isn't it?
It is fucking awesome, man. Get it before you have to pay fucking an arm and a leg.
Do you remember? And that's the worst thing for some of these games. Do you remember, again, say a year and a half ago? Well, no, it'd be a bit more. It was before the virus. Say 2 years ago. You could walk into a game and they were doing a deal where you could have 2 brand new 3DS games for like 20 quid or 25 quid. And it was like, you could have A Link Between Worlds and something like Samus Returns and brand new, like because it was like Nintendo were doing the offer where it was like 2 new games for 30 quid, something like that.
Mm.
Do you remember that deal? It was a
Yeah,
fantastic deal, and
yeah.
Link Between Worlds was in that bundle.
Was it It was the 3DS now that you buy a game, you get a free game digitally.
I can't remember now. Off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah. That's how I got a load of copies of Kirby. Not Kirby. That's how I got a load of copies of Animal Crossing. I bought like something and got Animal Crossing. I bought another game and I bought a couple of games. So me, my missus, and like one of my kids all had Animal Crossing New Leaf because I bought 3 different games and had 3 codes for it. So
That's one way.
we end up with 6 games for the price of 3.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Was Twiwi, The World Ends With You on 3DS?
Oh, no, that was DS.
It was DS, was it? Ah, here's another one that was good on the 3DS. Box Boy.
Oh, never played it.
Oh, you need to play Box Boy. Yeah, I need
Good,
to
is
play Box. Yeah, it's really good. It's a puzzle game. It's fun. It's a fun puzzle game. I know they're hard to get. You know, they are hard. It's hard to find a good puzzle game, but there are good puzzle games.
That's cool.
Did you play any of the Mario and Donkey Kong games? I don't know how many were on the 3DS. I know there was at least one.
I haven't played any on the 3DS. I played the GBA version though.
I think it's kind of like a offshoot of Donkey Kong 94, people say, because it's closer to the way that plays than Donkey Kong normally is.
Yeah.
Pull blocks and yeah. Or as it's called in I think it's in Japan. It's called Pushmo, and yeah, they're really good. Did you play them? Push blocks, pull blocks, whatever it's called.
I can't recall it. No.
It's basically like a puzzle game. You have to get to a flag. You have to pull and push blocks to get them into the right place so you can get it there. I think something like that. It's really interesting. Is there any particular games that you can think of? Because we've only got 10 minutes till we end.
Yeah.
Is there any games that you would highly recommend for the 3DS to our listeners? Or me? I've never heard of them. What's that like?
Project Code Steam.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that is like a tactical RPG kind of thing, isn't it? Is there tactical?
Yes, it
like
is.
Like a mixture between like Fire Emblem and something else.
Yes, yeah, that's it. So so that game, and you could pick that up so cheap. Literally, you could buy it brand new. I think Argos sell it brand new, providing they have it in stock for like £3.50. I bought it from Amazon for like £3. It's insanely cheap.
I need to look on Amazon.
So
some games.
Yeah. Trying to think off the top of my head. The so many games.
Too many games. Did you ever play Mighty Switch Force?
No.
Doom doesn't play little games from the seams of it.
Again, it's just there's so many games available. Thing is, though, I really only started playing the kind of smaller indie type games since having a Switch. It was when I become very more aware of those type of games. If you know what I mean.
Well, it's really fun. It's basically, I think, Mighty Switch Force. If I remember correctly, there's a few of the Mighty something forces. Like I think people escape from a prison or something, or they criminals, and you've got to go around the levels, find them, and capture them. And it's pretty cool the way you got to do it. Like it's just a fun little game.
Yeah, it's cool.
Did you play Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate? That was on 3DS. I played it on Wii U. I like that.
You played it on Wii U.
Grum says, did you play Ghost Recon Shadow Wars? Yes, I had it with my 3DS, I think.
Cool.
And I remember really enjoying what I played of it. I didn't finish it because, you know me, I'm a fucking douche who keeps like, oh, a new game, and then I'll play it.
Yeah. I just think.
I think it might have been a launch title,
spent,
Rebellion.
I spend so many hours playing the Pokemon games that that really, like, for quite a long period of time, the 3DS was like was basically a Pokemon machine for me. And then it's only in the later, say, like, year, in the last like couple of years, maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, that I really started exploring the library more. Just becoming more aware of games. It's since I joined GRcade, to be honest. That's it. Kind of, opened my kind of my view, I suppose, on more games, I suppose.
Have you played Azure Striker Gunvolt?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
That is a good game. It's Mega Man-esque. Like, I never finished it because I found the final boss too much of a bitch.
There's a Gunvolt game on Switch as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it's that's what I played it on 3DS originally, but I bought the.
Is it just a port?
It's a port of the first two, and there's also Mighty Gunvolt, which is a crossover between Mighty Number 9 and Gunvolt, and it's meant to be much, much better than Mighty Number 9. Okay. Another good game I'm looking at on a list, Box Boy, which is the sequel to Box Boy.
Okay, original name. Are these games? Can you pick these games up physically, or are these all like?
Some of them are physical, some of them are digital. Gunman Clive 1 and 2 on the 3DS are really good, but obviously they are also on PC, and I streamed Gunman Clive 2 and done 1-minute reviews of both of them. They're really, really good. Have you played the Yokai Watch games? Grum is asking.
I haven't, but I've been meaning to pick them up because apparently they're really good. There's 3 of them, isn't there, on the 3DS? And they can be picked up relatively cheap. I think you can pick up Yokai Watch 1 secondhand for less than a tenner.
You were able to get them cheap from Argos at one point, because I think they're like a 5 each or something, because Grum bought them and sent them to me because I couldn't get them in my Argos.
Oh, that's very kind of it.
He's a lovely, lovely chap.
Very, very lovely.
I couldn't get him in Argos around you, so it's like Grum's like, oh, this stock here. I haven't played them yet though because I can't find my 3DS charger. I don't even know where my 3DS is now. So I need to find it and then actually play them, because I gotta play them because one of my kids is also like, I want to play Yokai Watch games. I'm like, well, you can play them when I'm finished. So I need to get on them soon, like.
Yeah. Before we get told off.
Yeah.
There you go. First game was $149. The second game was $249. Yeah, that's just so cheap, isn't it? It's ridiculous. Yeah. And obviously, the majority of our conversation about the 3DS has been the fact that it has people have been collecting for it like now, really early on. It's only just come to an end, and people are collecting, which is keeping the prices level and pushing them up in some cases. But there are plenty of good deals on the 3DS game scale out there. It's just a case of looking. Like, you can go on Argos and still pick up a lot of games very, very cheap on Argos. Amazon if they're in stock, you can get them. There are a lot of people, if you just go on like Facebook Marketplace, there are plenty of people still selling them like at reasonable prices. Even CEX have them at quite reasonable prices. It's just all of a sudden some of the games that you probably want to play, like Samus Returns, like Monster Hunter Stories, which I want, but for the love of God, I'm not paying that the price for them, the second-hand price for it. But I want to play it before the second one comes out, because it sounds right up my alley, you know.
Are you interested in normal Monster Hunter at all?
I played Monster Hunter World. But it was before I joined GRcade, so I didn't really have anyone to play with. So I was playing with randoms. I got friendly with this American who kind of showed me the ropes, but that was it. I eventually got rid of it because, again, it was just it was kind of big boring on my own.
I love the games. I played 3 Ultimate mainly. And I played it a lot for a couple of friends, and I had so much fun killing monsters.
I've been very tempted by Rise. I have to be honest. I've been very tempted by Rise.
If I had people to play it with, and it was a guaranteed night of Monster Hunter Rise, I'd play it. Like, I've got Monster Hunter Worlds on
got
my
it.
PC and I've got it on my Xbox, so I can play Monster Hunter Worlds. I haven't got Rise. If I had guaranteed people to play with, I would likely get it ASAP.
Yeah.
Here you go, 1 second.
Yeah, well-
Another good game. Third game in the series. Bye-bye, Box Boy.
Oh dear me, there's a
It was,
pattern in there.
it was the last Box Boy game on 3DS. There is a new one. It's called Box Boy and Box Girl, and it's on the Switch.
Oh yes, I remember seeing the release thing for it. That's cool.
Fuck, I've not seen Cave Story 3D. I didn't even know that was a thing. That looks pretty cool. It looks quite different to Cave Story because it's actually 3D, whereas Cave Story is not.
No. Yeah, there's so many good games, and like I said, because up until a couple of years ago, the console was only ever a Pokemon machine, and the reality is Pokemon will be more than likely played on it more than any other game. But like I'm kind of expanding my horizons and looking at games and seeing what I can pick up for the console, because I want to experience these games. So another game that I've been meaning to pick up, Ever Oasis. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Yeah. No, again, it's I think it's like a JRPG type style, but like you have like a village that you kind of I think you're essentially gone saving villagers from something. I can't remember what it was, and then you bring them back, and then like you're trying to rebuild this village, which is kind of your like hub world type thing. It's from the developers who ported or who remastered Ocarina of Time. So the guy, it's the same developers. The guys.
Oh, Grezzo, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
They also did Link's Awakening remake.
Yeah. So the guys who done that are the ones who developed this game, and I've heard it's very good. Yes, it's apparently quite good. So
yeah, I think there's a few people on GRcade who really like it and are like, well, I hope they make a sequel to it. Like,
yeah. Well, again, some of these games that didn't do so well, like your Ever Oasis, because they came out too late into the console's life. Really, I would not be surprised if we see a port on the Switch for it at some point.
If it works on one screen.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You said he was tempted by Ever Oasis, but it came really late. It came out like 2 years before. Was it 2 years? It might not. It might have been 18 months before the 3DS was killed off. Basically, it was really bad timing, and it's one of those games that I think if you ever look at a list of like most underrated games, that's always on the list. And the reason for it being so underrated is because it came out too late in the console's life span.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But is it underrated or underplayed? Because from what I've heard, the people who've played it rate it quite highly.
Well, yeah. There you go. You says the last game he bought was for the 3DS was Samus Returns. Yeah. And we were saying earlier that that's one of the games that seems to be responsible for pushing keeping the prices level and pushing some prices up, because of the announcement of Metroid Dread. There's a lot of people going saying, we've seen a similar style to this. It was on the 3DS with Samus Returns. So there's people clambering out there to buy Samus Returns to play it before Dread comes out, and that seems to have pushed the prices of 3DSs and certain 3DS games up. So,
Ever Oasis is $12.99 on.
Yeah, that's really good.
I'm gonna see if they've got it in stock for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look at Amazon and see if it's available there.
No, it's not in stock for delivery or bloody collection. Grum, help! Save me, Grum. You're my only hope. I'm looking at a list of top 100 games, and number one, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D, and I'm like, no. I would never put a remake as my top game on a console.
No.
Because no. It's just like there's new games that have come out. Like I would put Link Between Worlds before it because it's a fucking new game.
Yeah. Oh, you go. Ever Oasis isn't even available on Amazon. Oh no, that's a lie. Oh, here we go. Just to put it in perspective, Ever Oasis is being sold on Amazon for 30 quid. New.
Graham, find out for me, Graham.
so the fact that you can get Ever Oasis from Argos, which I've got the Argos out. I'm going to have a quick look because seriously, if it's in stock at my local one, I might just go and pick it up.
Just go buy it, like.
Let's have a look. No, it's not in stock. Not in
What?
stock for delivery or a thing. $12.99.
Wow, they'd even selling
on
Pokemon
clearing.
Sun for $11.99.
Yeah. Here's the thing: Pokemon Sun and Moon are about 11 and 12 quid, and even in CEX, it's about that kind of money, 15 quid tops.
Wow.
In CEX, Ultra Sun and Moon are still like 40 quid. So.
I typed in 3DS games for on Argos, and there's literally 7 games.
There's only a few.
Zelda Triforce
Yeah.
Heroes, Devilish Brain Training, Pokemon Sun, Layton's Mystery Journey, Ever Oasis, Pokemon Moon, and Miitopia. And all of them are under £13. Moon Cell is actually more than Sun. $12.99 compared to $11.99.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
But yeah,
There we are then.
so there's nothing you could think of to recommend then, simply because you spent too much time playing Pokemon.
Yeah, unless you know my suggestion is Pokemon, but no. In terms of instead of me suggesting a game to go and play, I could suggest games that I plan on picking up, and that would be Monster Hunter Stories, Ever Oasis. They're the top of the list for me. I also want to pick up Fantasy Life and see what that's like. That's thing. Yeah. Those two games in particular, Ever Oasis and Monster Hunter Stories, the first one, are the two that they're going to be my next pickups if I can.
Did anyone play Sonic Lost World? Not Lost World, was it? Sonic Generations on, I think it was on DS, maybe? Or 3DS? Did anyone play that? And I think Lost World had some different levels as well to the console version. I'm not sure. Oh well, never mind. I was just curious.
All good.
But yeah, I think one of the games that are meant to be really good on 3DS I haven't played is Kirby Planet Robobot.
Okay. That's it. Yeah, that's meant to be that. That's one of the other games that I've been meaning to pick up. But again, prices on that game have remained quite high. The other Kirby game, Triple Deluxe, doesn't go for the same kind of money. You can pick that up quite reasonably. It's again, say about £14 or £15. But Planet Robobot seems to always go in the £30 and £40 range.
Planet Robobot. Oof, I'm looking on Amazon.
Go on.
$39.52.
There you are. I'll tell you quickly on. I've got to shoot in a minute. Let me have a quick look on CEX. Planet Robot. There you go. So CEX is selling it for £30.
Cheaper.
Which actually, it's gone down in price a little bit. Just
Triple Deluxe was so good. I haven't played Triple Deluxe, I don't think. Can't remember. If I knew where my 3DS was, I'd bloody I'd charge up and play it.
Just to put it into perspective, Triple Deluxe on CEX is half the price at £15. So.
Damn, Robobot was one of the later games, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And again, it's kind of maintained its pricing. But that's the other game that I've been meaning to pick up. They're the three like high priority targets for me now.
Yeah,
for those. So
that's fair enough. There's a lot of there are fucking tons of 3DS games, and
there is.
to to be honest with you, if you would like to talk about the 3DS more, check out grcade.co.uk and then start a thread about 3DS games. We'll all join in and chat about what we like and what we don't like, and then people can check them out and see if they like them or don't like them as well. Yeah.
Sounds good.
See how I plug the forum?
Yeah, very good.
But that's going to be the end for us, simply because Doom has to go. And also, this is a mini, and they only last roughly an hour in comparison to the normal 3 hours.
Yep.
So
there's a forum.
it's not in stock near Graham. No, how could you do this to me, Graham? How could you show me this game only to tear it away at the last minute? No, I'm only kidding, Graham. But seriously, we're gonna jump off now. We would like to thank everyone for tuning in, and that was me trying to speak and I couldn't. And for everyone who's listening after the fact, either via YouTube or via the podcasting apps, thank you so much for listening as well. It would be nice for everyone to check out GRcade video on YouTube, at GRcade on Twitter, GRcade on Facebook, and grcade.co.uk. We're all part of the same community who take part in this.
Yep.
So check it out. And it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Hopefully I'll see you again soon.
Yep. Hopefully we'll have a full Twitchcast to talk about something else. And who knows what the next mini is going to be about. Maybe it'll even be Sonic 06. Bye-bye.
Bye.